Okay, call the Village of North Fond du Lac Board of Trustees meeting to order. Roll call.
Keith King.
Here.
Jim Moore.
Here.
Mike Streeter.
Here.
And Mike Well.
Yep, here.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Any announcements? Okay, President's business. Heather.
All right, thank you. I guess the main thing is the carpeting project is complete. We reopened on Thursday and Thursday morning, and everything looks amazing. So we're just encouraging everybody to come in and take a look and see what the new look looks like. So.
I plan on doing that tomorrow.
Okay, good. I will be attending Winnafox annual meeting, which will take place in Ripon tomorrow. So I won't be there in the morning, possibly the afternoon, depending what kind of agenda they have for me tomorrow. For a book club on Saturday, we're discussing The Alchemist, Paulo Coelho, and it's a book that was written in the 90s. So if you're interested in discussing that book, come and pick up a copy, and we'll be doing that on Saturday. And we have put this into place. We're doing staff picks at the library, so we have a little display, and we each have a certain number of bookmarks that we put in some items, and then we display them, and they started going out today. So then as people take, then we have to refill our picks. And so just kind of gives people an idea of the things that we recommend. So if they like what we like, it kind of gives them some ideas of what they can take home. And we're going to be doing another group paint in February on the 15th with Alice, and her theme is sunflowers. So if you'd like to get signed up for that. That's all I have. Thank you.
On those staff picks, are there different categories of books? Like, is there fiction and things like that?
Yes. What I tried to do is pick like a couple movies, a couple nonfiction, couple fiction, one children's. So there's a variety. Hannah picked a lot of the picture stuff because she's really familiar with that. So there's kind of a broad assortment of different kinds of materials up at the front then.
So all of these staff picks are in a certain area, or are they?
Yeah, we have them on display right now, right by the desk. So.
Okay, interesting.
Sounds like you're busy. Administrator, check.
On the even years, we have to send out notices to all the exempt properties. They have to fill that out to continue their exempt status, and it's a form that they have to fill out showing what the estimated value is and what the purpose of the exempt properties are. And that's, again, 2018 being an even year. Those just went out in the mail today. We had the major software upgrade last December, and so we're still kind of going through a learning curve and discovering new things. And big kind of newer software, even for the company that we're working with, they have some problems with it that we have to work through and notify them, and we get them on the horn and we talk through it. And so it's I think it's still going very well. Being that it's the beginning of 2018, I'm working on archiving some of the older information. We tend to try to scan a lot of it and not have to keep file cabinets full of information that we occasionally would retrieve, and by having it scanned, it is accessible right through the desktop. I'm also finalizing the contracts with the PD and the fire and EMS. Thank you.
Police Department, Darren.
Thank you. I'm going to pass around a couple of different reports if you want to grab
Sure.
a copy. The first one is the monthly report for the month of December. And then the second one is actually a summary report for the entire year, 2017. Probably if you glance at the numbers, nothing will jump out at you as a big surprise because I think spend quite a bit of time throughout the course of the year talking about some of the types of activity that we have, the stuff that's keeping us busy. And if you look on there for the annual report, you'll see the emergency detentions is the very first one. And then about 2/3 of the way down that column, check welfare. Those are the incidents, the combination of those two are the incidents that I routinely talk about in terms of mental health issues, and those end up tying up our officers for quite a bit of time, so. Last week, the entire department participated in Fond du Lac County in-service training. This is the third year that we've done this in-service at the local level. It's a great opportunity for us to get in some training hours at a local establishment so that we don't have to pay travel time. Some of the topics that we covered included legal updates, storm spotter training, and crisis intervention. And then also last week, I actually made 2 radio appearances. I was on KFIZ's Behind the Badge. We talked about online dating scams. We've had a number of incidents in the past several months where people have fallen victim to frauds using those online dating websites. We had one lady, a 70-year-old woman, who lost $4,000 to one of these people. So just talking about some of the warning signs, some of the ways that people can protect themselves. And then I also made an appearance on WFDL, Between the Lines. Greg Stensland had called me and wanted to talk about the social host ordinance that you guys adopted last week. So spent a little bit of time talking about the updates on that. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Public Works, Nick?
Thank you. Planning, just continue to plan for 2018 capital projects. A lot of stuff going on this year. Also, kind of wrapping up 2017. It seems like it takes 6 months to wrap up a project, just getting the as-built and everything sent back, so we get all the finalized drawings taken care of. And basically what that means is, you know, if our manhole gets moved 2 feet, we want to make sure that that's documented and on our plans, so when we go back to look for that manhole in the middle of winter, we know exactly where it is. Flow lines, stuff that's underground that we'll never see again, we want to make sure we document exactly where everything is. So that's what we're kind of finishing up for that project. We're talking about this later, but Chuck and I reviewed the phase 2 estimate that we received from MSA that we received last week. Utility budgeting, getting into that. I'm hoping that we bring that to the board the first meeting in February, if not by the second meeting in February, the utility budgets. And also the utility audit, we're getting ready. We just got an email today getting ready for that for 2017 utility audit. So getting materials ready for that. In fact, I don't even know when that is at this time off the top of my head, but it's usually in March, but there's a preliminary. So they collect a lot of the data before that. So that's all I have.
Thanks, Nick. Consent agenda. Approve the minutes of the following village board meeting, January 8th, 2018. Approve invoices and authorize checks to be drawn on the respective funds in the amounts indicated. General fund, $1,235,755.57. Library fund, $14,176.28. EMS fund, $1,268.51. Water department, $6,918.11. Wastewater department, $2,147.64. Community development, $11,316.28. And the stormwater fund, $391.40, for a grand total of $1,271,973.79. Motion to accept the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda as read.
I'll second it. Motion by King, second by Will, was it?
Yes.
Yeah. To accept the consent agenda. Questions?
Just got a quick one. I think that, Nick, we talked about that wetland on page 1, that wetland.
Delineation.
Yes, we talked about that was for some we were trying to develop some property or get some property ready? That wasn't part of that
Not part of
virtual building, but there
no.
was something that,
An additional,
what made that come about when, I mean, now, I mean, is there somebody that was interested in the property? What, okay, I mean,
Yep.
I'm surprised it wasn't done when we first, you know, developed the property, I guess.
well, it was,
Yeah.
but the wetland delineations are only good for 5 years. And there's some new regulation now, anytime that a development happens over an acre, wetland delineation needs to be done. That wasn't always the case. So, and with the current issues that are going on in the state with wetlands, that is a more important thing to do now. And the way they're treating wetlands, Chuck has been down to Madison over this, but, so anytime anybody needs to look at a property in the village that hasn't had a wetland delineation within the last 5 years, a wetland delineation needs to be done.
Does it take care of all the property we have still owned over there, or just a certain portion?
That was only for 10 acres.
Really?
Yep.
A lot of money for
It
that.
was a lot of money.
Okay.
And part of that's because it's complicated. What's going on out there is complicated.
Okay.
Some of the things they're considering in Madison with legislation is that when you have a business park and you have it delineated, the whole thing, that means at that time you know what is wetlands and not. And they'd like to see that holds then for the life of that business park.
So what
Because-
has changed? I mean, after you do it one time, what changed?
Well, when we put in the roads and put fill in, there'd
So
be pockets.
basically, I mean, originally there was a wetland delineation done on that property when it was a farm. There was wetlands delineated. Those are still there. They're still not being disturbed. They're out of the area. And an approved drainage plan was approved. Fill was placed. Over years, in 2006, 2007, things really slowed down and really nothing's happened out there since. But because of the fill that was placed out there wasn't perfectly graded, and there's some pockets of water, they're now claiming those are wetlands, which are sitting on top of 4 feet of fill that we placed in there. So that's the whole issue. There's not a lot of common sense involved, however, that's the regulation. I could go on and on about this,
Okay.
but that's being addressed
Well-
hopefully in Madison. But that's the situation we're faced with right now.
Okay, hopefully that changes. All right.
Okay, any other questions? If not, all in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carried. Okay, administration. Discussion possible action on approving a contract with MSA for a phase 2 study on the Zoc property.
Nick, I'll let you speak to that if you don't mind.
Sure. So Chuck and I were approached maybe a couple months ago already about somebody interested again in maybe putting some sort of a building up on the Zoc property. So we talked to them and as we talked, Chuck and I basically explained that, there was a phase 1 done, it was an old salvage yard. Through the state, we have this, what's called the municipal exemption. We know there's some sort of contamination out there from the phase 1. To what extent, we're not exactly sure. But because we're a municipality, there's this municipal exemption where it can we don't have to do as much as a private owner. If a private owner were to purchase it right now, they'd be required to continue through and clean it up completely. So Chuck and I discussed that and, really at the point we're at now with where it was 2007 when we purchased it. It's been sitting there. We do get people that ask about it quite often. I would say 2 or 3 times a year, somebody asks about it. And at this point, we really don't have a good answer for them because we don't know what's involved out there to clean it up and get it ready to sell. So with that, Chuck and I thought it was probably time that we go down that path. So I started the process by kind of trying to contact the person that did the phase 1, which was some Williams Environmental, who's no longer in business. So then I went to the person that hired them, who we worked with, if you remember, Gary Becker from Becker and Associates. He no longer works there, and he's also retired, and so he didn't have any. Then that was kind of a dead end road too. So I contacted MSA, who does our right now do our streets, our engineering on our streets, water stuff. So I contacted them and just said, hey, do you guys have anybody that's really knows the regulations, the laws and this stuff, and he said, well, actually, we have a guy that, in our office that does this, this is what he does phase ones, phase twos. So we contacted him and got talking with him, and Chuck and I had a phone conversation with him, and then we provided him with a bunch of information, the phase one, and we asked him to provide us with an estimate to complete the phase two, which will get us to the point where at least we'll know what needs to be done on that site in order for it to be buildable, or be able to sell it. So, as it sits right now, there's really no way we're ever gonna sell it, because nobody's gonna buy it without knowing. Nor would anybody ever probably lend any money to somebody trying to purchase it right now. So, that's what you have in front of you. There was quite a bit of legwork that went into this on his end, I think, digging through the old files and that. The estimate, they were willing to work basically on a estimate, but, I think, you know, in the past, they've also done this for us, that if they end up not spending as much time, they don't charge us the full amount. And we've had very good luck with them doing that on some of our projects. So that's what's sitting in front of us right now, is their estimate to complete that phase two. Requires a lot of soil borings, water, supply testing to make sure there's no contamination in the water.
Maybe to add with Nick too, when this gentleman started looking at it, he did some digging too, and the DNR has on record that is a salvage site, which that is something too that has to be reversed, or at least identified, that has been phase two identified, there's no contamination, or what needs to be done if there is some. So, I mean, that again is another hurdle that I think trying to sell it would have some consequences unless we change that as well.
Yeah, it's what's called an ERP, an environmental repair program. It's an open site considered right now by the DNR.
So we're looking, trying to close it. I read that, I didn't quite understand, but now I understand it.
Yep, trying to close that.
People over there, flags up.
Oh, okay, couple questions. You answered one of them, who did the last survey, but, there's something grants funding for this kind of stuff, or the funding comes during the cleanup?
We did ask them, their possibility of grants is definitely only for the cleanup, not real likely. But there's not really grant money available for doing this part of it.
So would you say it's in our best interest to clean it up? We have the best option to clean it up? I mean, it'll
Well,
cost us money.
We don't know yet.
Right.
Because until we get this, we don't know what cleanup means at this point. Depending on the contamination and what's in there in the levels, it might be a possibility to just cap it.
Got it.
It might be something, depending on what we find, we have to remove some soil, landfill it. We don't know, and that's the process, and that's why Chuck and I believe that it's in our best interest to move forward with this, keeping in mind that we do have, at this time, an open TIF in TIF 1 that is able to fund some of this stuff.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
in a few years, that's gonna be closed, and that money's not gonna be available anymore.
Even that little lot that we talked about last meeting, did we do any samples on that little lot? Did he have?
There was
cards?
some samples done.
That lot that we, in the town of Friendship, I'm talking about.
Oh, he actually, because that was not included in these maps and the salvage yard and that's not part of this study, so, but with this, that will get cleared, so to speak.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Right, I mean, that's to be, right, we're not gonna do it.
Yeah, we're not gonna.
Hire somebody to do a
Right.
little slot of
It
land
would,
for us.
we'll make sure that we clear the entire site ownership.
Okay, okay, that's all I got for now, so.
Mike? Hey, Nick, did he say why was it important if the owner that we bought it from was bankrupt? What was that about?
Well, and that has to go with this municipal exemption, and I recall that, I wasn't sure, I was involved, but I wasn't very involved at the time, but I recall there's these rules that if the previous owner, when they sell, like when somebody sells a site like this, if they're financially capable of cleaning it up, they'll go back at them, so, but because it was a municipal purchase, that's what he was asking about.
Gotcha.
If they had finances
That
available
makes
to
sense.
clean it, but because the way we purchased it from them, I know that was taken care of.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody else?
Something else that's in there too that's kind of pointed out is that he can start, he doesn't have to wait till spring. All he has to do is have access to the plots that he fears, and if we can just plow, even, if there's snow, we can plow to those sites, he can do it in the middle of the winter.
You just said just as long as it wasn't as cold as it has been, so the water samples don't freeze on the way
Yep.
up.
Yep.
This is just a little bit warmer. Got it.
Motion to accept the contract, approve the contract.
That's what we need.
Okay.
Are we, what's that?
Make a motion to approve the contract with MSA.
Are we looking at, just so I'm clear on this, are we looking at the estimated cost here? I don't see of 18 to 19,000 for the whole thing.
That will come out of.
That'll
TIF
come out of the
money.
TIF.
TIF money.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you, I know you're, can I speak, Jim?
Sure.
I know you looked, I mean, you're comfortable with this SMA. I mean, it sounds like they're a good company. Any chances of getting another bid or something? Or, I mean, it sounds like they're a solid
Yeah, I know,
company.
Chuck and I talked about that, and we don't have to, I understand you probably know that. When we do engineering contracts, a lot of times we don't get multiple, we can. In this case, Chuck and I talked about that before the meeting. We feel like this is probably a very good number, a competitive number. And this guy has put in a lot of effort into this already, and we are working with this company currently. We're comfortable with this, but if you're not, we can definitely try and get another number. I tried to do that originally. I kept going down these dead-end roads, and I'm sure there's other people out there that do it. But if you want us to, it definitely can.
Okay. No, I appreciate you thinking about it.
Yeah.
Considering it, and it sounds like that they treat us well in the past.
Yeah. I'm comfortable with it, but if you're not, I completely understand. I can get another number. It's just, I tried to. I haven't tried a lot, but I tried a couple different people, and it was dead-end roads, so.
I'm gonna make a motion that we approve the contract with MSA for Phase 2 study in the ZOC property.
I'll second it.
Motion by Streeter, second by King to approve the MSA contract. Any more discussion or questions? If not, all in favor of approving the contract with MSA, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, any communications? Any unfinished business? Any new business? Motion to adjourn.
Make that motion?
I'll second it.
Motion by Streeter, second by Will to approve adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.